I'd like to call the May board meeting of the Olathe USD 233 School District Board meeting. Ms. Hibbs, would you call the roll, please?
Yes. Ms. Ashley?
Here.
Dr. Daniels?
Here.
Mrs. Felter?
Here.
Mrs. Martin?
Here.
Mr. Parker?
Here.
Mr. Poland?
Here.
Mr. Shear?
Here.
Would you all rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Before we begin our formal agenda this evening, Ms. Ashley has an important announcement that she would like to make.
I have a new granddaughter as of Friday.
And now, Miss Ashley, the grandparents are now a majority on the board. Dr. Daniels, Mr. Poland, and myself, and Ms. Ashley now are all grandparents.
That's right.
Welcome.
Thank you, thank you.
It's a lot of fun, right, Dr. Daniels and Mr. Poland?
It's great fun.
Yeah, so.
And the rest of us are hoping to wait a few years.
I get that too.
Get to spoil the granddaughter, so know you're excited and happy. And everybody's healthy.
They're doing great. Anna Elizabeth is her name.
That's the most important thing, so.
Mr. Parker, we have a screen out tonight.
Uh-oh.
So just, that is
All right.
not
I
working.
imagine those are still, the overhead ones are still working. All right, very good. This evening, we'll begin with our presentations, and our first presentation would be presented by Dr. Allison Banikowski and Ms. Deb Tappel, talking about extended learning opportunities for students during the summer months. So.
We are very pleased to have the opportunity to tell you a little bit about summer school. Of course, summer school for 2012 has not occurred yet, but lots of plans are underway to make that happen. One of the things that I think is so important for us to remember is that every year we have lots of students that have an opportunity for extended learning during the summer. In fact, we have had a long history in this school district of providing those type of opportunities in the summer, whether it's for students who need remediation or it's for students who need to excel in their academic program. So we're very pleased to have that opportunity for our students. We also are very pleased that we have wonderful individuals who help to facilitate and lead our summer school. And you can see the listing there. And we wanted more than anything, of course, it gives you an idea of where their location is at, but also the many individuals that it takes to operate a summer school program for both our general education students and our special education students during the summer. I'm also pleased to indicate at the bottom of that screen, it indicates that Deb Chappell is the facilitator and administrator of our entire summer school program, has spent a lot of time preparing for this. Previously, at one point, we actually had a full-time administrator individual who was helped with facilitating summer school. Since then, Mary Matthews has done an excellent job of helping us with summer school and helping it move forward and always enhancing. And now this year, Deb Chappell is taken over summer school, and she as well is helping us to move forward with our summer school program. So Deb's going to provide you a little glimpse of summer school. Deb.
Thank you. As Dr. Banikowski mentioned, we are still in the process of enrolling students, so I can't give you final numbers at this time. It'll probably be the 1st of June before we could really give you those numbers. But at this time, we enroll the special education students and the ELL students first. We do early enrollment for them, so I have a little better idea about numbers for those groups. And as of a few days ago, we had approximately 440 students identified that would be receiving special education services this summer, and about 626 ELL students enrolled. There we go. Our elementary program for several years has been known as SAIL. It's Summer Adventures in Learning, and it serves students in kindergarten through 4th grade. It offers a variety of academic and enrichment classes for students. For kindergartners, we have a class called First Things First. That's 4 hours. It goes the entire time, and it's like a mini version of kindergarten during the day. And the students get instruction in reading and math and writing, and then they get also additional activities, physical activities, and things that they can do. And then in the language arts for elementary, Grades 1 through 4, we have Reading Rally, which is a small group guided reading instruction for students reading below grade level, and that's by teacher recommendation. And then we have Pool Party Reading Fun and Beach Bash Reading Fun for grades 1 through 4. And then we have Young Writers Studio, Is That a Fact, for 3rd and 4th grade. We also offer mathematics. We have Star Math is similar to Reading Rally in that it's for students that are performing below grade level to try to give them that extra boost for the next school year. And then we have Leap Ahead and Math Works, also math courses that are offered for students 1st through 4th grade. We have some enrichment courses to kind of make summer school fun if that's possible. But we have Broadway Lights where kids can do some theater and performance, Art Anyone, Galley Fun to do some basic cooking and making snacks, Waterworks, which is Red Cross swimming lessons, and Fun and Fitness where kids can play games and get some exercise. Then we do also offer at the elementary level some science and technology courses, such as science investigations for 3rd and 4th graders, where they can have an opportunity to do some hands-on science, creative computers for 1st and 2nd grade, and Technomania for grades 3 and 4. Summer Trails is our middle program, and it serves students in grades 5 through 8. And it also offers reading and math and an array of different camps. Summer Trails Reading and Math includes Reading Workshop, Read 180, which is also a very successful program at the high school level and extends into middle school. And then Analyze, Prepare, and Attack, How to Succeed on the Pre-AP English 1 Summer Reading Assignment, so a little boost there. And then Investigative Math for grades 5 through 8. Enrichment courses offered at that level include Skills for Life, which has basic skills like communication, babysitting, sewing, and nutrition, Lego Robotics, which has been extremely popular. We've actually added another level of that. Last year we had Lego Robotics 1, and this year we have levels 1 and 2 because it has been so popular. Summer Newspaper, where students can create their own newspaper, Teen Book Club, Teen Creative Writing Club, and String Orchestra. Summer Trails also offers some 21st century camps, which are previews of the high school 21st century program. So it's kind of some early efforts to help kids begin to be familiar with some of the options available for 21st century. We offer a bite of ecom, a taste of culinary arts, and Make It at Mill Creek. High school summer school includes both credit recovery and credit advancement. So if a student needs to harvest some time in their schedule, they can take a course over the summer to give them a little extra time in their schedule the following year. We also offer weight fitness. Originally this was only a high school offering, but as of this year it's been extended to the middle school level. And then we also offer driver's education, which is extremely popular in the summer. Something that's new this year is the summer meal program, and we're very excited that we will be able to offer free breakfast and lunch to all students K through 8, actually early childhood through 8th grade, that are enrolled and attending at our summer sites. And this program is funded by the federal and state funding, and we're very fortunate that we're able to access this and provide breakfast and lunch for our students that attend school and summer school. All of the sites have to qualify for this program, so they have to have at least 50% enrollment of students that qualify for free and reduced lunch. If we meet that 50% mark, then every student in the building, whether they qualify or not, can access the meals. And at this point, it looks like we are going to make it in all of our buildings. The closest one was 54% in one building, so we're kind of watching that to make sure we don't dip below 50. The only building that won't have that available is the high school. And the reason for that is that the program will not be funded in any site that offers credits for high school graduation. And that's a state rule. I don't know why that is, but that's just how the state rule works. So we weren't able to access this program for the high school. There will also be community sites, as there have been in the past, where children between the ages of 1 and 18 can receive a free meal if they don't eat at their summer school site. So if a child is not enrolled in Sail or Summer Trails and can't access the food that way, they can go to one of our 3 community sites at Fairview, Ridgeview, or Rolling Ridge and access that. And Cindy Jones is the person in food production who is the representative of this program and who is running this program for us. That's it. If you have any questions.
Just a clarification on the
in the elementary and middle school, all the students get free lunches if over 50%
Yes,
are qualified for? Okay.
yes,
Is this the first year for that we've qualified for that program, or that program's been available?
yes. This is the first year that we've been able to access that.
I think in the past, some of the faith community had helped us with that.
Yes,
So we don't need their help this year.
that's correct.
I think it'd still be nice if we invited them in and recognized them for the past work that they had done in this area in the past summers, and showing that we appreciate that, and because who knows, we may need their help again in the future. So it'd be good if we invited those groups that helped us with that in the past come in and recognize them. Can we
And
do that?
certainly, we will want and invite their help for lots of other projects that we have going on.
Okay,
So
all right.
we just want to channel them somewhere else, but they've been wonderful.
I know they've done work in the past, and I just don't want it to fall by the wayside that we would not acknowledge their work in the past. And
Is it a brand-new program or just new that we qualify? Can you clarify a little bit?
Well, that's probably a question for Cindy Jones. I don't know exactly. I know that this is the first year that we've accessed it, but I don't know in what the history would be behind it.
It's been out in the state of Kansas for at least 7 or 8 years where schools have qualified.
Yeah, and we have offered in the past, like I said, the open sites, the community sites where people could come. This is the first year we've really meshed it into the summer school program.
But just to clarify, if a child wasn't going to summer school, there would still be those other sites. So kids won't be hungry if they're not in school.
That's correct.
Okay.
How do we reach out to them? How do they know this and they're aware of that, the ones that aren't going to summer school?
I'm sorry, I don't know the answer. This is my first year of summer school.
You're learning on the job.
Food production has flyers that they put out.
Food production has a series of flyers that they produce and put out to all of our schools. And that's how part of the word will get out for the existing summer school program and then for the other offshoot sites. And it's really for kids 3 through 12. So, and it's, got to get up here, Heather.
yeah, please come to the microphone so the public can hear the comments as well.
This is going to require a group effort.
Yeah. Doesn't it always?
In addition, with our community partners, we have posted that at the library with all our community organizations, at our local homeless shelters, many ways and areas where students and families might receive resources. So it's not just through the school, but we've really tried to do that in the community. Secondly, in working with food production, we did that in both English and Spanish for the flyers.
Good. And did you do it at Head Start?
Yes.
Publicize it?
All schools have the information.
Great.
Yes.
And all of the students that are enrolled in Sailor Summer Trails, they get a letter from us that has information about it and a menu attached. We already have the menu for this summer, so they can look at the menu.
Oh, wow.
So
Thank
do the
you.
buses run early and late so that students have time to eat?
We extended the day by 15 minutes, so and the lunches won't be the full-blown cafeteria go through the line lunch because we don't have time in a 4-hour instructional day to do that. So it's more of a sack lunch type thing, or the clamshell. It is still a hot lunch, but it will be more mobile, more portable than something you have to go through the cafeteria line and get.
Okay.
So typically, go ahead, Dr.
Do they
Day.
have to make a reservation ahead of time so that you know how many lunches to prepare? Or do you just, after the first week, they figure it out? Or
Yeah, we probably won't take a daily lunch count, but we will count how many students are in attendance and then turn in attendance numbers. Now, of course, if we have a parent notify us that they aren't going to access the food, or we know that we'll subtract that, but we won't take a formal lunch count.
Okay.
Certainly, many of our students are also coming to summer school because they are on scholarships, and so it provides an opportunity to do both the extended learning, and in this case, everyone is very, very pleased about the opportunity for some meals as well.
So this is a new effort on behalf of the Food Production Center, because typically speaking, they go into recess mode during the summer months. Is that correct?
Actually, we have had some opportunities from the summer from our food production in the past, just not quite as full blown as this is going to be.
They've been wonderful partners, and I've really enjoyed working with Cindy, and they've just been so cooperative, and we're very excited about how it's turned out.
What happens then once summer school is over for those children who might not get meals? Then is that something where we go back to our faith-based communities and hope that they're holding us up in in August and July?
But yeah, my understanding is that this program is only funded for the month of June.
Right.
So any other efforts would have to be kind of those community-based efforts in July.
Okay.
So we have been trying to be very strategic to work with both.
Heather, why don't you introduce yourself?
Oh, I am so sorry.
We have the viewing audience, and they'll be
Okay.
seeing this, and so they know who you are and what
Okay.
you do.
My name is Heather Schoonover, and I'm the community liaison for the school district. And part of my responsibility is working with our community partners. We have been very strategic to get both business, faith, and civic organizations that it is a community effort to outreach to all our students of Olathe. So after summer school is over, some churches do go in and offer food. Center of Grace offers that every Wednesday and Thursday night. So there are opportunities for outreach on that.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions? Thank you for the report. Very good report and very commendable work. And then the next information presentation this evening would be bullying prevention. It takes us all of us, from Dr. Aaron Dugan.
I'm at such a disadvantage. I can't see close without my glasses. Now I don't have the one screen I can see from, so I appreciate the opportunity tonight to talk about a pretty serious topic and just a little bit of time to update you on what our district has been doing and what we're going to continue to be doing in terms of both prevention, intervention related to bullying issues. Larger issues, and I'm not going to provide a training session tonight, and we've got lots of this ongoing, but some of the things kind of the nation and locally we're grappling with in this area, defining what bullying is and what it isn't so we can address it appropriately, understanding the seriousness of the concern, how do we emphasize the importance of reporting, and what are the consequences if bullying occurs, what are the interventions, what's research telling us are the best practices. One of the best practices we know is this has got to be a community effort. We were just talking about the community and all they give, and this will be another example that it's going to take, like the title of the presentation, it's going to take all of us to really break the cycle of bullying. But these are some of the issues we're grappling with. And then what knowledge and training do you guys as a board need? Do our students need? Do our teachers need? Our administrators and our families? And so I'll talk a little bit about some of our efforts in these areas. Why the heightened concern? Certainly the increasing impact of the cyber world, the stories of bullying happening online, on Facebook, text messages, instant messenger. Certainly we've got just an increase in frequency and impact for bullying through the cyber world. We're seeing increased incidents, and this is nationwide, and the consequences, just emotional consequences these are having on our students. Lots of national media coverage in this area, and understandably. And the federal government has put forth bullying guidelines and a large data collection effort for the Office for Civil Rights in terms of holding schools accountable to not only reports of bullying, but victim reports. And so all this has come together, certainly, to create heightened concern. I'm not going to go through all these statistics. I've highlighted a couple of them that I think just kind of give the flavor. This is national statistics, keeping in mind. 160,000 students a year are staying home from school, and they report that that's due to bullying. 1 out of 5 children, admits to being a bully or doing bullying, again, national level. At the bottom there, in schools where there are bullying prevention programs, here's the good news. Where there exists a bullying prevention program, bullying itself, reported by students, is reducing in half. Okay, so there's some good news there. More just national statistics. 58% of students admit that someone has said mean or hurtful things to them online. This is that cyber world that's having this huge impact right now. More than 4 out of 10 say it's happened more than once. So we're seeing not only the impact and frequency, but just also just the number of students reporting this. 58% of those same students, okay, that are reporting this online bullying have not told their parents or an adult that this is occurring.
and not saying that mean or hurtful things. And so you can see how we have this building concern, and certainly that has a great impact on our students and our mission in our schools. Bringing it down just a level. So national statistics, let's look at what Kansas is saying, okay? They did, in a Kansas bullying prevention program, they did a baseline survey, and again, the numbers aren't super large, so we want to take them into account. 19,000 students from 74 Kansas schools. This data looks like the national data. A little over 35% of Kansas students in grades 3 through 12 are regularly victimized by students. They're saying, I've been bullied, okay, and not just once, but regularly. So about 35%, and that's a Kansas statistic. Hard to read, so this is going to be my test right now, if I can pull this off one way or the other. Now local statistics. We do a Communities That Care survey. Okay, and we survey 6th grade, 8th grade, 10th graders, and 12th graders. And there are specific questions. There's great questions on that survey, but we went through and pulled specific questions about bullying. And so what are our local folks? Now this is data from the 2010-11 school year. Again, there's more here, and there's plenty to digest, and we continue to do that. 41% of our 6th, 8th, 10th, and 12th graders. Okay, so I've combined some of these statistics. They don't vary a whole lot, though, when you spread them back out. Report seeing bullying once or twice a month. Okay, we can assume, we don't ask if it's in our schools, in their home, online, and that question has stayed stable for years, so we don't want to change the question so much. 46% of those same students report that they report the bullying they see, and this is a huge increase for us. We're excited about this. We have more students doing the reporting. I'll talk a little bit about that. Some quick trends for you. So we've seen an increase in students that report to an adult. We've increased that over the last 2 years, and I really believe that it's been part of our initiatives in the last 2 years with students to say you must report. If bullying's happening, we need to know about it because we're going to take care of you and take care of it for you. So we've seen a nice increase. We've seen a decrease in students just ignoring it. This was a big deal. And again, this is over the past 5 years. We'd ask students, what do you do when you see bullying? And the largest number said, well, they just ignore it and move along. Okay, and research is telling us our bystanders can't ignore it. They need to engage. We need to teach them how, make it appropriate, make it safe. And so we've seen a nice decrease, a decrease in those that say they're ignoring it, which is an increase in those that are not ignoring it. The last piece is something we're just going to watch a little bit. We have seen we have more students reporting, very exciting. We've seen a decrease in students now that say that when they do report, they trust that the adult's going to stop the problem. Okay, so we're going to watch this. That's over the past 2 years. So more students report, and they say the adult they reported to, they're not positive that adult was able to stop the problem. Okay, so we're continuing to kind of look at this and see what this means. We have some ideas. What I want to give to you tonight in a brief overview is what we're doing as a district in terms of our comprehensive plan for bullying prevention. Okay, and there's 5 components I want to talk briefly about and talk to you about things we've been doing and really our plans moving forward to continue this initiative. 5 areas. 1, there's Board of Education policy, specifically related. You guys voted this in and wrote it, and we have specific Board of Education policy related to bullying. We also have a code of student conduct that specifically address bullying using the board definition and the consequences and the administrative actions that happen, which send a strong message that this is not something, this is something we take seriously and this is not something we tolerate. We also have had ongoing student and staff training related to bullying, prevention, intervention. I'm going to talk to you briefly about that. We have a system of support and intervention. What do we do for victims of bullying? What do we do for bullies? And what do we do for those bystanders that watch this? I'm going to talk to you a little bit about that. And probably our newest initiative that we've kind of rolled out this year is we want to be able to work with our families and help them understand the nuances of bullying these days, the impact it has on their children, and how we can partner as schools to address that. Quick, I'm not going to read this one to you. I couldn't if I wanted to, but just quickly in terms of board policy, there is, and the arrow's pointing to it, our bullying definition. There again is bullying specifically called out in our code of student conduct. These are the pieces I want to bring some attention to. We are certainly not as a district suddenly just responding to this heightened awareness. It has been something this district's been actively engaged in. Heather Schoonover, who was up here, has been a big part of an ongoing bullying prevention committee that's gathered for years, continues to have curriculum and trainings out there. What we wanted to do this year was kind of make that more comprehensive and really share with our community at large that we take this serious and we're addressing it. Let me highlight a couple of things. Every one of our buildings, school buildings in the district, has an individual building bullying prevention plan in place. They write it up, the training they're going to do, how they're addressing it at each building level, and we collect that every year, and that's been in place. Steps to Respect is actually the elementary curriculum that starts right away with our elementary kids, been in place, and it's a curriculum that one of the aspects it deals with is the concept of bullying and social skills and how to handle that and be a good elementary student and citizen, being kind and respectful. So that's been in place in our district. Done a lot of work with positive behavior interventions and supports in all of our schools, elementary through high school. Again, how do we respond in a positive, respectful, kind way to all folks? Safe and Civil Schools, an initiative we hit at middle school and high school, again, specifically addresses things like hallway supervision, locker room supervision, staff visible and engaged and watching kids and interacting with kids and really being part of a school's culture. And that's how we're going to really break this cycle, one really important piece. Rachel's Challenge, and I think some of you have heard about this, but the Public Schools Foundation has so graciously provided a $50,000 grant, and we will, the last 2 weeks of September of next school year, be able to bring that program into all 9 of our middle schools, all 4 of our high schools. We've had some experience, again, we've had this going on before, not at this comprehensive level, and it really addresses this need to be kind to each other, take care of each other, be respectful, help out new students. There's just a really, really powerful message, and you guys will get lots more information as that gets closer, just as a big community effort in that area. Boys Town training's been happening at a number of our high schools. We're a larger initiative for all our middle school teachers to be trained in August as part of pre-service and teaching students at the middle school level some social skills, apologizing, taking critical feedback, that we really feel like that's going to be a key to, again, breaking some of these bullying behaviors. We've had counselors in place, and they play such a critical role. And they're just, I can't speak to how critical they are to helping us, working with victims, working with bullies and bystanders, and emotionally problem solving through some of the impact that has on students. Most recently, so probably one of our newer initiatives, it's the last on my list here, is we have been in touch with YMCA and our Y Care programs at our elementary schools, our before and after school care. We'll be meeting here, I think, next week, actually. And we're going to talk to them. They're very interested in how can they help us and support us with our students before and after school care, starting the day off right in a kind and respectful manner, meeting some of their emotional needs at the beginning and the end of the school day. And First Student has made contact with us and said, let's all sit down and talk about how important this bully prevention initiative is going to be on our school buses. And so we're excited, and that's really what we believe this effort needs to be. I'm going to briefly go through some of these and then really kind of open it up for questions you might have on directions we're going. Here are some of the beliefs that we've kind of rolled out this year that have been in place, but we think have to be part of our mantra in terms of bullying prevention. Each of our schools has to have as part of their culture that there's no tolerance for bullying, that we take this very seriously, and we will follow up and listen to reports and really be engaged and tuned into this issue. Our staff have some serious responsibilities related to bullying. They have to take every report very seriously. They need to be supervising kids closely. What are the hot spots in a building? Hallways, locker rooms, coming on and off school buses, in and out of transition periods at elementary from recess. We have to continue to work with our staff so they understand, I believe they do, but continue to emphasize that need to take this all very seriously. And we need to not underestimate the training we need to provide our staff and our parents about how do you respond when a student makes a report to you. It's a critical 30 seconds after they tell you in terms of how you respond. Who do you tell? How do you communicate with the parents? That we want to make sure that we're really consistent and proactive in this process. Again, the positive climate, this is something Olathe is known for and our schools do an incredible job of. We're sure that will continue to be a key in our bullying prevention intervention efforts. This has got to be our mantra of kindness and respect, and knowing that kids can count on the adults in that building to take good care of them and protect them, and that we're going to work with their parents to keep them safe when they're in our schools for sure. Our big thing right now is to our staff and to our families, keep your eyes and ears open. Watch your kids on their Facebook page. Watch them in the hallways. We're listening at the cafeteria. We're listening better in our locker rooms. We need to have kind of a real feel for the pulse, both with our eyes and our ears in terms of what's going on with our students. And one of the things we have to do is we need to step up, all of us, students and parents and staff. We need to intervene when we see kids being mistreated. And we need to model that for our students. And this is kind of our ongoing efforts here. I'll let you look at this quick. What do? Here's what we kind of going forward. We have, the district and each school has a bullying prevention plan. We take all the reports very seriously, and that needs to be our message, and it needs to be what we do. We have consequences based on a code of student conduct. Bullying behavior will have consequences. Our victim and bystanders must be protected at all times from any potential retaliation, from reporting. We know this. We're going to pay attention to this, and I believe we do. Monitoring and supervision, both of the victim after a report, but also continued monitoring and supervision of the student with the bullying behaviors. Immediate counselor support where needed, again, for the victim and the bully and the bystander. We've got lots of kids involved in this triangle. And watch for further intervention when it's needed. Sometimes it seems over and it's not over, and we need to stay alert and aware to those things. And we need to have our parents early and involved and engaged in this communication about what's going on and how we're addressing it as a school. Here's our final message. And again, it's not a new message, but we've refreshed it and we've heightened the awareness on it. And I think we're just taking a larger comprehensive. We're a big district. We have lots of staff. We want to engage our parents in this. But parents and students and staff all need to be engaged and informed in this particular issue related to bullying. We have an obligation and we have a plan to do it, to provide students, staff, parents, and our community the skills in order to break this cycle. And that's going to take some efforts and some presentations and some protocols and, again, continued discussion. And as adults, staff and board members and administrators, we've got to be models of this real proactive, pro-social, no bullying behavior. And my sense is, and I feel very confident about this, we have such great community partners, engaged parents, and staff that really want to tackle this issue, that this comprehensive approach is going to be effective. It's a serious issue, and we have continued work to do in this area. With that, Dr. Shirk is here, as is Brett Yeager, just from the elementary and the high school level, and I can certainly answer middle school questions, but questions you have for us in terms of the direction we're headed. Been headed, continue to head.
Why do you think there's a decrease in the students' perceptions that if they report to an adult that it's not necessarily going to be handled? Is there any feedback on that or dialogue related around that question?
And I don't know if I have the scientific research baseline answer, but here's my sense in talking to some students and really asking staff, to teachers, why would they say this? My sense is, and I mentioned it earlier, the response a staff member makes right after. Okay, so it says, gosh, so-and-so was calling me names and bullying me and I'm feeling uncomfortable, and they say that to a teacher. The teacher may say, thank you for sharing, and goes and takes care of it, okay? But the student doesn't necessarily know what the follow-up was. And so one of the trainings we're gonna do that we think will impact that is that the staff member says, thank you for telling me, I take this very seriously. Trust me that I'm gonna follow up and I'm gonna touch base with you tomorrow, let you know what I did. We just need to let students know that A, we took it seriously, and B, we intend to do something about it and provide that follow-up. I think we're doing something about it, but we're not being transparent with students what we're doing. Okay, so we'll find out. We're tracking that, but that's my best sense from both students. They say, well, we tell them, we don't hear whatever happened. And I think it's that need for some follow-up and feedback.
That's good. Communication sometimes is the whole key. But we're sort of handcuffed on anything that happens outside of school, aren't we, as well? I mean, with cyberbullying, I mean, it's like chasing smoke, isn't it?
It is. It
and
is.
If you don't see the bullying happening, that's another whole layer. The whole issue is very complex.
A very complex issue. I think the reality for schools, though, is that while it doesn't happen at school, we feel the impact at school. We have 6, 7, 8 hours during the day to model, talk about. We have a captive audience there. So, yeah, no, can we control some of the messages being sent in the evening? but they carry right over. We hear about them, feel them, students are talking about them, and as we train students to better address that, one would hope that would reduce that type of chatter, inappropriate chatter out in the community. But you're right, very complex. And we have limited authority to do much about some of what's going on out there until the second it impacts or threatens our students or their safety or our business of providing education, then we have some authority to handle it. But it is complex.
That's why it really takes all of us. It takes parents, community. So it's a great effort. Thank you.
We'll have lots more partnership efforts. We're very excited about First Student, very excited about the YMCA. Certainly our faith organizations will play a key role in their youth groups, and we're hearing lots of folks, and we're reaching out as well and trying to bring them in. If we're all consistent in our message, I think it only is good news for our students.
Thank you.
Going along with that, just 46%, what did it say here? I sympathize
Glasses,
with you. I
thank
sympathize
you.
with you
Thank
there.
you.
46% of the same students report that they report bullying they see to a teacher or other adult. Give me walk me through what would happen from that point on.
Here's what should be happening. It's a great question. One of the things we're also working on is to formalize a protocol of the investigation. Okay, tough word, but I think that's the seriousness of this. Here's what would typically happen. So a student reports to a teacher some instance of bullying. Okay, the teacher then has a couple decisions. Is it something they can address specifically? They're going to make a professional judgment. Can they address it? Some of the buildings, in working with their administrative team, the administrative team has said, we want all aspects of bullying to come to the administrative team to be addressed collaboratively. Okay, there's a referral form. Every building has a formalized kind of refer to the office for concerns. So really up to the teacher at that point. I would tell you right now with the heightened awareness that reports of bullying are documented by the teacher and shared with the administrative team, the elementary principal, the assistant principal, or principal at a middle school, or again at the high school. So right now there's a going to the office, and then here's what happens. So then we bring in the student reporting and someone else visits with them, hopefully a safe or comfortable adult, sometimes a counselor, gather some information, then they bring in whoever the alleged bully was, and then we start witnesses, start kind of visiting with witnesses or bystanders. So very formal investigation, the same one we do if there had been a fight or other violations of a student code of conduct. So the process is pretty formal. We need to kind of formalize that in writing, be able to share that process with our parents and students so they have a good understanding.
Can we, is there any way to track or any relationship between drug-related or gang-related things as we cut down on bullying? Is there any direct reflection, corresponding?
I don't know if I have a sense that it's corresponding currently. I will tell you my sense of bullying is it seems to go everywhere. It's hit all types of students and grade levels of students, and there is no status that seems to not be affected by this. But certainly as we track that data district-wide in terms of incidents that might be gang-related or drug-related and bullying-related, we'll be able to watch if one impacts the other.
Is there any difficulty for teachers in terms of the semantics of bullying? I read something in the paper the other day where a parent said she called it mild bullying, and it just took me off guard because when she gave the example, I thought, I don't know if I would have called that bullying. And so then I was questioning my own definition, but it was, her child wanted hot lunch and the kids teased him, or her child wanted a salad and the kids teased him because he didn't get a hot lunch. How do you differentiate friendly teasing from a peer versus the perception of bullying? And I feel like sometimes because we're so conscious of the negative impact of true bullying that we overreact. How do teachers
One of the first
gauge
slides
that?
I put up, and I said one of these things that's ongoing and part of us addressing is this definition of bullying. And here's kind of our approach right now, because it's a very legitimate issue. It's a hot button word, and it's being used a lot. And I think we have to take it very seriously, whatever context it's being used in. Here's the kind of message we've been sharing with administrators, and I think they feel strongly about that. Right now, we don't want to focus so much attention on figuring out what type of bullying, is it real or not. We have a student uncomfortable, feeling unsafe, making a report to an adult. Right? And we may address it or intervene differently. I think the interventions for teasing that made a student uncomfortable will look different than the interventions on a bully who's been persistent and frequent, and it's got an imbalance of power going on. And so I think the definition of bullying is going to impact our interventions. I was worried, as we were, and feel better after talking to administrators, that to engage in a conversation with students or parents as, well, this really isn't bullying, is kind of a no-win.
Right.
Because someone's uncomfortable and feeling unsafe, and we need to address that, and we'll address that with the best intervention based on the facts. And I think some of it isn't bullying in this larger, scary way, that some of it's teasing, some of it's all inappropriate. But defining it has been a real challenge. You bring up a great question, and we're going to try and isolate it to the definitions important for the intervention, but that our response immediate and serious regardless of the category it falls in. That makes some sense.
And that was my other comment, because it sounded like, I think particularly for young children, the immediacy of the consequence is the best teaching. So if an elementary building decides, well, everything needs to go to the office, and so the principal isn't available or the counselor isn't available, do the delayed consequences impact the outcome? I don't know the answer to that. It was just a thought process that
and I may have misspoke there a little bit, because you bring up a great point. I think teachers will need to have an immediate response. Thank you for sharing this with me. What do I need to do to make you feel safe now? Those kind of pieces. The reports right now, tracking reports, following up on interventions and stuff, is a lot of that's flowing directly to the office. But I agree with you. The immediate response and assurance from the teacher is going to have to happen regardless of who does the formal investigation part. Great point.
Thank you.
How do we plan to evaluate ourselves?
Well, lots of it. I mentioned that the federal government has put some accountability data collection pieces in place, and we really have some neat opportunity. We put in place this year, broke down the different types of bullying and harassment in our buildings, input that data on a daily basis based on the incident. So we have that. We've also started tracking victims and victim reports and the interventions for victims, and this is our first year, so we're going to have some nice data. The Office for Civil Rights has asked us to do this, and we've built that into our existing discipline dashboard system. So we'll have that by building, by grade levels. Okay. So we'll have some real exciting, hopefully powerful data to look at and make decisions based on once we get through this school year.
Dr. Dugan, thank you for the report. I really understand that there's a lot of working parts here that work together, teamwork to help stop and prevent bullying. But one thing you said kind of struck me back on the staff and student training slide about the counselors. You said how very, very important our counselors were in the process. And it seemed like you put a lot of emphasis on that. And my response to that is to Dr. Berry, as we look at our staffing model, we know that in the past we have been in a position where financially we have had to reduce the number of counselors in our schools, especially our high schools. Yes. So it seems to me like, I understand that just the counselors is not the end of all means here, but it seems like it's a critical, important part of it. And as we look at our staffing models, if we continue to reduce the number of counselors in our schools, it would seem like it would have a long-term detrimental effect, especially in the area of bullying. That would be very, very benign at first, but over a long period of time, it would become more insidious and more sinister. So as we look at that, I would encourage us to not be quick to reduce the number of counselors.
Can I ask a question about if there's a formal investigation, is any of that paperwork part of a student's permanent record?
The bully or the victims, or either, maybe, is the question.
Anybody involved? I'm just curious about how much stays with the child.
The notes we took, the principal gathered information, the interviews with witnesses, those are kept. Depends on kind of how formal the process goes. If a student, in fact, has
through their bullying is in fact a larger violation in our Code of Student Conduct. That information does get gathered in part of a hearing packet potentially that goes through kind of our discipline hearing process. But the individual pieces don't, but certainly, the data tracking system in terms of discipline referrals, we track discipline referrals to the office. Often those are in a student's file, but in terms of the paperwork and the process, it's not currently something that follows the bully, for instance, or that the victim has a victim report in their file.
Okay.
It's not there.
Any other questions from board members? Thank you, Dr. Dugan, for that report. With that, we are at that point in time in our agenda where we would take a comfort break and come back at, would you like to do the consent agenda before we go to all right, okay. So we would move on to the consent agenda before our comfort break. So that would be action item 5.01 through 5.10. Typically, these are routine matters that the board handles on a monthly basis. Board members could ask questions about any one of the consent agenda items or ask for an item to be removed for special consideration for a formal action. Any questions on behalf of board members for consent agenda? I call for a motion then.
I move to approve consent agenda items numbered 5.01 to 5.10 as presented.
Second.
I have a motion by Ms. Martin and a second by Dr. Daniels to approve the consent agenda as presented this evening. Ms. Hibbs?
Mrs. Ashley?
Yes.
Dr. Daniels?
Yes.
Mrs. Felter?
Yes.
Mrs. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. Parker?
Yes.
Mr. Poland?
Yes.
Mr. Shear?
Yes.
Okay. With that, we'll take comfort break and we'll reconvene at 7 p.m. I think we're all ready. We'll start. Reconvene with rewards and recognitions. It's the end of the school year, so we have a lot of recognitions this evening. And I'd like to call to the podium Director of Communications, Ms. Megan Kolb, and Mr. Rick Shearer will also be the board representative this evening to congratulate those being recognized. Ms. Kolb?
Thank you. As you can see by this packed house, we have numerous accomplishments tonight. I'd like to welcome all of our distinguished guests. We have two business partners to recognize this evening. I'd like to ask Heather Schoonover from Community Development to come forward to help with the recognitions. Our first business partner recognition is of the Midwest Professional Golfers Association. The Midwest PGA, through the Midwest PGA Foundation, awarded the Olathe Public Schools a $17,500 Snag a School, which stands for Starting New at Golf, grant. The funding provided equipment for elementary and middle school PE teachers in Olathe to use in physical education and after-school programs. Brad Bingesser, Olathe School District PE and Health Coordinator, said, "We believe that by introducing the game of golf to students in physical education class and providing them an opportunity to participate in after-school programs, we can reach those students who otherwise would miss out on these types of opportunities because of financial constraints." I'd like to ask Brad to come forward along with Midwest PGA representatives Jeff Burry and Matt Murdoch. And thank you to the Midwest PGA for providing such an exciting opportunity to students in the Olathe Public Schools. Thank you very much. Our next business partner is Kiewit Power Engineers Company. Kiewit Power Engineers Company has been a business partner with the Olathe Public Schools since 2006. Through annual outreach to the 21st Century Aerospace and Engineering program housed at Olathe Northwest High School, Kiewit has provided industry professionals for guest lectures, mentorships, internships throughout many of their Lenexa office departments. Throughout this partnership, Kiewit has consistently offered 2 to 3 internships annually to Olathe students. Kiewit provides resume reflection and interviewing opportunities to our 21st century students by coming to the Olathe Northwest campus for job placement interviews. Students hired for the workplace opportunity are provided a mentor to work on skills such as computer-aided design and project management. I'd like to ask the following individuals from Kiewit to come forward to be recognized. Elizabeth Putnam, Human Resources Recruiter, Dale Dutton, Mechanical Drafting and Design Manager, and I'd also like to ask Becky Metcalf, Aerospace and Engineering Facilitator at Olathe Northwest, to come forward as well. Thank you, Kiewit, for being such a strong business partner. Our next recognition tonight is of Jay Novacek, who is named the recipient of the Dr. Art Newcomer Promising Athletic Director Award. Welcome, Jay. This award is presented by the Kansas Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association to an athletic director in his or her first, second, or third year who has demonstrated outstanding leadership and who shows the potential to be a great leader in the field of athletic administration. Congratulations, Jay, on this wonderful accomplishment. For our next recognition, I'd like to ask the Olathe North boys bowling team to come forward, along with their coach, Daleen Muma, and Olathe North principal, Connie Heinen. The Olathe North boys bowling team won the state championship held in Wichita on March 1st. This is the first bowling state title in school history. Yay! The team score was 2,815, which is 65 pins better than the second place team. Wow. Congratulations, gentlemen, on this exciting accomplishment. Coach, would you like to say a few words?
Yes.
Really? Seriously?
My words are to my boys. Well done, gentlemen. I know there's a couple seniors and some of you that won't be back. Louie, Hunter. I just am so proud and so glad that we were able to accomplish this before you left. So good job, gentlemen. Thank you so much.
One last thing before you sit down. Are your families here tonight? Because we'd love for them to stand to be recognized as well. Congratulations. Thank you. To stick with the topic of bowling, I'd like to now recognize the Kansas Individual Bowling Champion. Would Aaron Uratovich? I never get applause. This is so exciting. Aaron Uratovich from Olathe East, along with Principal Bill Weber. Please come forward. Aaron, an Olathe East sophomore, won the Kansas Bowling Individual State Championship with a 735 series, 245, 247, and 243 at the State Championship Bowling Meet in Wichita on March 1st. He was also named the Kansas City Stars All-Metro Boys Bowler of the Year. Wow. He defeated the second place bowler by 21 pins. Congratulations, Aaron. And Aaron, I know your family's here too. I'd love for them to stand to be recognized. They are. Congratulations. Bye. Next, we'd like to recognize Clark Thomas from Olathe Northwest. Clark, if you could come forward, along with Coach Hank Cruzen and Athletic Director Jay Novacek. Clark won his 4th straight Kansas Diving Championship at the Class 6A meet at the Hummer Natatorium in Topeka in February. He won the meet with a score of 545.45, which is 11.75 off the state record. Also, Clark became the first diver in Kansas history to break the 600-point barrier, which he did at the Sunflower League Swim and Dive meet with a score of 608.15. Clark finished his high school career undefeated and has qualified for the Olympic trials in June. Congratulations. Oh, and Clark, is your family here? We'd love for them to stand and be recognized as well. Next, we are recognizing 2 wrestlers who won in their respective weight classes at the state competition in Wichita in February. Rory Haug from Olathe North was the state champion in the 152-pound weight class. Rory, if you could come forward, along with, is your coach Josh Carroll here? And Principal Connie Heinen. And Connor Middleton from Olathe Northwest won the Kansas State Championship in wrestling in the 160-pound weight class. And Connor, if you could come forward, along with Jay Novacek. And this award represents the 2nd straight state title for Connor. Last year, he won the state title in the 152-pound weight class. Congratulations to both of you. And Rory and Connor, are your families here? We'd love for them to stand and be recognized. Congratulations. Our final recognition tonight is of Teresa Poor, a senior from Olathe North. Teresa, if you'd come forward along with Connie, you're already up there, and Patty Charlesworth, regent with the Olathe chapter of the Daughters of the American Revolution. The Olathe chapter each year conducts a Good Citizen Scholarship Essay Contest, which is open to all graduating seniors in the district. Not only did Teresa win the district competition, she also won the state competition and is in the running for the national award. The theme of this year's contest was Our American Heritage and Our Responsibility for Preserving It, describe the freedoms and responsibilities of a good citizen. Congratulations, Teresa, on this wonderful accomplishment. And Teresa, is your family here? We'd love for them to stand. And that concludes our recognitions tonight. Thank you.
That's pretty fun to see all the
Yeah.
We continue our meeting with public comments. At each regular meeting, the Board of Education reserves limited time for individuals wishing to address the board. We request that individual speakers limit their comments to 5 minutes. The clerk will monitor the time and notify the speaker when the 5-minute time limit has expired. Please direct your comments to the entire board. If a response is appropriate, the president will respond or refer to another individual. In an effort to respect the privacy, we ask that speakers refrain from discussing personal complaints involving individual staff members or students. Those speaking are advised that public comments are videotape recorded for broadcast on the district educational access channel and audio tape recorded as a matter of public record. Individuals addressing the board should come to the podium at the front of the room, state your name and address. When the board met this evening, there was not anyone who had registered to speak to the board, but still opportunity still is available if anyone would like to address the board. Being none, we'll move into our action items. First action item is 6.01, white copy paper. 02, which is director protector bid, and 6.03, which we would request that we will hold that until after the executive session, as it does involve elementary 35. And we'll take action on that after the executive session. So any questions from board members on 6.01 or 6.02? Being none, I'd call for a motion.
I'd move to approve bids and contracts items 6.01 and 6.02 as presented.
Second.
Thank you. Motion by Mr. Poland and a second by Mr. Shearer. Ms. Hibbs?
Dr. Daniels?
Yes.
Mrs. Felter?
Yes.
Mrs. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. Parker?
Yes.
Mr. Poland?
Yes.
Mr. Shear?
Yes.
Ms. Ashley?
Yes.
Thank you. The next action item would be 7.01, which is approval of Kansas Association of School Boards nominating and legislative committee appointments for the year 2012. So we would do this with one motion for nominations for the nominating committee first.
I'd like to nominate Mr. Shear.
That's for the nominating committee, okay?
Oh, I'm sorry, yes.
That's right, you're correct. Any other nominations for Mr. Shear? Other than Mr. Shear for the nominating committee? I would move for the nominations to close, that's to cease.
I'll second that.
I need a motion first.
I'll move that we cease
Thank you.
nominations for the nominating committee.
All
I
right.
would second.
All right. Whew. Motion by Ms. Ashley and a second by Ms. Martin to cease the nominations for the nominating committee. Ms. Hibbs?
Mr. Parker?
Yes?
Mr. Poland?
Yes.
Mr. Shear?
Yes.
Ms. Ashley?
Yes.
Dr. Daniels?
Yes.
Mrs. Felter?
Yes.
Mrs. Martin?
Yes.
Then I would need a motion to approve Mr. Shear for the nominating committee.
I move to approve Mr. Shear for the nominating committee.
Second.
Thank you. Motion by Ms. Felder and a second by Ms. Martin. Ms. Hibbs?
Mr. Poland?
Yes.
Mr. Shear?
Yes.
Ms. Ashley?
Yes.
Dr. Daniels?
Yes.
Mrs. Felter?
Yes.
Mrs. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. Parker?
Yes. Then the same process for the legislative committee appointment. Nominations are open. I would take nominations for that position, for that appointment.
I'll nominate Amy to do it again
Okay.
if she's willing.
Nomination for Ms. Martin.
Second.
I would need to, before I get a second, I need to see if there's any other
I was just jumping ahead, so no.
All right, okay.
I
Okay.
move that we cease nominations.
There you go. Now that I got a motion a second. Motion by Ms. Ashley and a second by Mr. Poland to cease nominations for the legislative committee appointment. Ms. Hibbs?
Phew, you guys are making me
Yeah.
work. Mr. Parker?
Yes.
Mr. Poland?
Yes.
Mr. Shear?
Yes.
Ms. Ashley?
Yes.
Dr. Daniels?
Yes.
Mrs. Felter?
Yes.
Mrs. Martin?
Yes.
Then I need a motion to appoint Ms. Martin to serve on the Kansas Association of School Boards Legislative Committee for 2012.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Ashley and a second by Dr. Daniels. Ms. Hibbs?
Mr. Poland?
Yes.
Mr. Shear?
Yes.
Ms. Ashley?
Yes.
Dr. Daniels?
Yes.
Mrs. Felter?
Yes.
Mrs. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. Parker?
Yes. Thank you
And thank you to both of you.
for serving. Yes. 7.02 is an action item, which is approval appraisal process for, to approve refinements outlined in the April 5th, 2012 board presentation regarding changes to policy GBZCB as presented. Motion for approval?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Being none, a motion by Ms. Martin and a second by Mr. Shearer. Ms. Hibbs?
Mr. Shear?
Yes.
Ms. Ashley?
Yes.
Dr. Daniels?
Yes.
Mrs. Felter?
Yes.
Mrs. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. Parker?
Yes.
Mr. Poland?
Yes.
7.03 is a student trip for the Science and Olympiad for Olathe and North to Orlando. Dr. Barry, could you give us the board a little background on that?
I think Dr. Shirk is prepared to.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Shirk?
I have some information
Mr. Green that he shared with me. He's at City Track meet this evening. So are there specific questions that you'd like to cover, or you want just general information?
I will volunteer
Okay.
a question because I
Okay.
had one of Dr. Berry after receiving the agenda. And my question pertained to the students missing 3.5 days of class in that time period just prior to and perhaps even during final exams. And so I wanted some elaboration on how we work with faculty, with the staff to coordinate that, and whether there's precedence for how we handle these competitions that do occur during a very critical time of the school year.
Good, thank you. We did specifically investigate just that question and found out that, yes, we have had precedent for this before. Olathe East attended Science Olympiad Nationals last year. And in fact, last year, Science Olympiad from Olathe East had seniors on their team, so it was even a different kind of issue because they were dealing with graduation as well, but accommodated that. In terms of Olathe North, it's a younger team, so we're not having to deal with scheduling around graduation and working on transportation in that respect. But all the teachers at this point have been notified. The kids are aware. Grades will be finalized prior to their even departing for the competition. So it will all be, has been taken care of and arranged prior to moving forward.
Dr. Shirk, this is a national competition that
Correct.
the team qualified for by winning
Correct.
state. Is that correct?
Correct. Yes, they did. In fact, we were very proud and pleased that Olathe North won first place in state at Science Olympiad.
Where was that held?
I want to say Johnson County Community College, but
Okay.
that's where it has been before. Wichita this time, at that level. Thank you.
All right. Sorry to put you on the spot
That's
on
okay.
it. But didn't really matter.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions? Motion?
I would move to approve the student trip as presented.
Second.
I have a motion by Dr. Daniels with a second by Ms. Martin. Ms. Hibbs?
Ms. Ashley?
Yes.
Dr. Daniels?
Yes.
Mrs. Felter?
Yes.
Mrs. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. Parker?
Yes.
Mr. Poland?
Yes.
Mr. Shear?
Yes.
That concludes all of the action items for the board this evening. Then 8.01 through .81.12 are future action items, and would call attention to board members for next month. We do have several important items on there, which would be 8.07, which would be the architectural engineering request for proposal, and the construction committee will be meeting this month to review that. And then agreements with Kids TLC and also the school resource officer agreement for next year. Then information, we had the Head Start monthly report, and we're at 10.01, topics for discussion. Board members will have an opportunity to bring topics up for discussion that are not currently on the agenda. Any board members have topics for discussion?
Not necessarily discussion, just quick report. For those of you that missed Olathe Got Talent, it was quite a presentation, and Olathe does have talent, so it's a nice fundraiser, also joint venture between one of our partners, also the Optimist Club, the high schools, and so there is some amazing talent out there, so be looking for it next year because it's a wonderful night. The person that won it last year was a second grader from Ravenwood. You should have listened to this gal wail. She was a special talent that night there. So the other thing is just being the representative for the Public Schools Foundation. One of the things that they've approved for next year is, this year they recognize the certified staff, 2 people a month, I believe it is, recognize certified staff for people nominate them, their peers nominate them. So they have now announced a program where they're going to do it for the classified staff also for the next school year. So I just think that's tremendous, the things that because that's been one of the things that this board's been interested in, is make sure that the classified staff gets recognized also as well. So just want to point those things out.
Thank you, Mr. Poland.
That's timely that you should mention that, because when we were hearing the presentation on bullying and there was a reference to the Rachel's Challenge funding that the foundation was contributing, I would think it might be timely for us to have a presentation by Olathe Public Schools Foundation. I don't recall when we last had a presentation from them discussing the various programs, the Bright Lights, what's the other one called? Anyway, and the scholarships, because the foundation has grown substantially, not only as far as assets, but
I think
as
it's
far
called
as,
Oscar. Is it Oscar?
well, the Oscar Award is separate.
It's the Educator
Spotlights
Excellence
and
Award.
Bright Lights, thank you. And then the Oscar scholarships go to the seniors, but there are so many things that they're involved in, and I think that would be a good reminder, particularly since we've got a couple of new board members.
Sure.
So if we can put that on the agenda in the next 2 or 3 months, I'd appreciate it.
Do it.
Any other topics for discussion? I did have another one that's partnerships. This one where certainly we have a partnership with the foundation, but I think it might be good also for the community and a good executive presentation on all the partnerships that are to school districts. There are numerous of them, and I don't know that we can cover them all in one evening, but highlight them, and as also maybe provide for the board as well as the public in the agenda the number of partnerships that we have within the community, which are numerous.
In my report tonight.
Oh, okay. Very good. All right, so it's time for superintendent's comments.
And I'll touch base on a number of things for you tonight. But tonight, with the approval of the HR report, we are confirming the hiring of David Morford as the new high school principal at Olathe North. David has served as the high school principal at DeSoto for the past 8 years, and he will be introduced to the faculty tomorrow at Olathe North. Been trying to monitor again this afternoon what's been going on in Topeka, hoping to share some updates with you, but mostly it was committee work. Action right now where a number of amendments are getting tacked on to bills that are being worked on both sides of the House, so actually nothing really new to report out in terms of action tonight. The House Ed bill, though, is one that this afternoon late got loaded up with a number of things. A half a dozen different things were put into that House Ed bill, so that's why we need to really monitor, because some things will happen at this time of year, and so we try to watch that. The Senate late this afternoon also started up on the Capers hearings again to consider action there, so we'll continue to monitor Topeka. I attended the awards assemblies for Mill Creek Center students yesterday, and just wanted to report out that it's such an exciting time to go to those assemblies and see the students recognized for all of their hard work and the accomplishments. They recognize state award winners, state officers, national competition qualifiers. It was these kids up on stage and parents in the audience. It was really exciting. Virtually every senior on that stage had plans. Pittsburgh State, Wichita State, Johnson County, Wyoming Technical College, job plans. It was kind of neat to hear those kids talk about what they're going to do, and our instructors really do a great job there. That they're excited about the new facility that's being built, but they have to temper that excitement because the juniors and seniors in the program are not going to be able to be in the new building, and so they're taking that kind of hard, but they are excited about the future of that facility. You know, the second thing I want to mention tonight, we continue to make plans for appropriate facilities for all of our students and all of our programs. And the community is continuing to hear us talk about the new Tech Ed Center that's being built on the North Campus. We talk about the Technology Support Building that's going to be built on this campus. We talk a little bit about the 35th Elementary that's to be built in our district. And I just want to make sure that we remind our community that all of these projects were in the 2007 bond issue. We had their support to move forward with these. The Board of Education has been very cautious, very strategic in when we would move forward and build these. And so I want to make sure they're aware of that it's not the thought of, gosh, I thought we're still kind of in that rocky economic times. What are we doing building some buildings? But those are dollars that are to our advantage at this point to use in some cases, but moving forward with projects that we would promise we'd build in the 2007 bond issue. Wanted to mention several presentations that I'll be bringing in the future to the Board of Education. And the first is in reference to a question comment at last month's board meeting about the overall picture of our students in national competitions. And so we're doing some work on that in terms of travel expense in those competitions, but we're reporting out to you about the cost and the benefit of all of those programs and bringing that to you. And secondly, this next month, we do want to share about our partnerships. We have groups, agencies, institutions, community groups, and that support us in so many ways. And as we all know, it takes the collaboration of a lot of groups to make sure we can provide that appropriate education today for our kids. And so we're fortunate in this community to have a long list of partners. And so we will give you that summary and share and highlight some of those. I also want to take just a second to thank the board again and kind of use that as an update in terms of an update on our financial software. Our central office staff has been tremendous during this implementation phase. And if you talk to the people from the company that are here again today, again, I know that maybe they're just telling us this, but he looks me in the eye and says, I've done this a lot, and I've never had a professional staff that's been so good in terms of being engaged in the implementation, which is a real credit to a lot of good people that we have in this building. One of the big things that they've just accomplished with John in the business department is rewriting the chart of accounts, which was huge for us, and now we're going to align more closely with the State Department, which we weren't able to do in the past. It was something our older software made it more difficult to do. The actual software implementation in terms of loading is set, I believe, for next week, and they plan to load the general ledgers by the end of the month. So again, progress is being made, but I just want to say thanks again. It's so exciting that we're getting away from that old green screen software and coming into the future, so we're excited. Just a few more quick kind of announcements and updates. Gwen Poss, our high school principal at Olathe Northwest, has been elected to serve on the executive board of the Kansas State High School Activity Association, which is a real honor for her to be selected to that board, but also really nice for Olathe to have representation there at the High School Activity Association. We've also been made aware that Pioneer Trail has another recognition that they've been named a finalist in the National Middle School of the Year competition, and this is being named by a different group. It's the National Association of Middle Schools. So again, don't know what will happen, but we're excited that we're in that group. I believe Chisholm also was a finalist for that in the past. And one thing on kind of a lighter note, but if you're a fan of Jeopardy, we have a student that will be appearing on Jeopardy tomorrow afternoon at 4 o'clock. It airs. It's in the teen edition of Jeopardy, but Evan Eshelman actually taped it in February. But an interesting young man, and since it was taped early, he's sworn to secrecy, so we'll see what happens tomorrow. But again, that's kind of fun to watch a student participate in a knowledge contest on the national level. So that's the reports I have tonight. Yes?
Is it too early to talk about our culinary team and our robotics team?
It is not. We're excited, and you know what outstanding news we had this past weekend when we learned that our robotics team from Olathe Northwest took first place in the nation, followed by our culinary arts team, first place in the nation. And again, lots of teams competing. The numbers, it's not like it's a small group, but for the Olathe kids to walk into those arenas and walk out national champs is pretty special.
Yeah, when you think it's national, I mean, that's right. Really special. Yeah. It just, it's astounding. So.
I think there's an international, no, I'm kidding. I think we're done with national champions.
We'll be able to formally recognize those teams next month. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay.
And will the culinary arts program bring treats when they
I would hope so.
If they did, that would be at the end of the board meeting.
I think they need to show off a little bit of why they won first place.
That's
so
right.
There you go.
That would make a great comfort break.
They could just do dinner.
Yeah.
That's right.
You know, I think back when we first put that in place, at the time that we did that, probably 2000, 2001, and I know there's some folks in the community who questioned the sanity of the board at that time to do that, but it's proving that it's been very beneficial for our students as well as our community, so.
Did I read it was like $1.5 million worth of scholarships
that's correct.
From that? It's pretty impressive, yeah.
Would be that time of our agenda of 12.01 for adjourn to executive session. Dr. Berry, do we need an executive session this evening?
We do, and I'd ask for 35 minutes tonight.
Let's go ahead and do 45. I'd call for a motion to adjourn to executive session for 45 minutes.
I'd move that the board adjourn to executive session for the purpose of discussing personnel matters of non-elected personnel, to discuss matters relating to employer-employee negotiations, and for the purpose of preliminary discussion relating to the acquisition of real property. And the board will return to the regular meeting at, what did you say, Harlan?
8:45.
8:15?
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, 8:15, yeah. 8:15, I'm sorry.
Executive session, do I need to read the rest of it? This executive session is required in order to protect the privacy interests of individuals to be discussed, to protect the district's right to the confidentiality of its negotiating position and the public interest, and to protect the district's financial interest and bargaining position.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Poland and a second by Ms. Martin to go into executive session, returning to open session at 8:15 PM. Ms. Hibbs?
Dr. Daniels?
Yes.
Mrs. Felter?
Yes.
Mrs. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. Parker?
Yes.
Mr. Poland?
Yes.
Mr. Shear?
Yes.
Ms. Ashley?
Yes.
Ms. Hibbs, let the record show that the board returned from executive session into open session at 8:15 PM. And the board would take action on 6.03, architectural engineering proposal for elementary 35.
I move to accept the fee proposal for architectural engineering services for future construction of elementary 35 as presented.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Martin, a second by Mr. Shearer. Ms. Hibbs?
Mrs. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. Parker?
Yes.
Mr. Poland?
Yes.
Mr. Shear?
Yes.
Ms. Ashley?
Let's do the study, yes.
Dr. Daniels?
Yes.
Mrs. Felter?
Yes.
Motion passed. With that, board is adjourned.